Okay, it looks like I'm live, so that is awesome. Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another Imperial Assault Continuity Project Season 8 live stream. I am your host, TheSecondFlock, and I literally just walked in the door from the gym, so I'm still in that high-octane, very fast kind of mode of thinking, and I had about 5 minutes to set up the stream. But we are ready to get going today. So I know why most of you are here. You are most likely here for the Season 8 spoilers that have yet to come out, and I do have them hosted for you in this file, in this folder right here, and we will see those very shortly, but the rest of this stream is going to be focused on going over the Season 8 previews that have already released thus far. We've gotten about 7 articles, and a couple other spoilers have come out in the preview gallery from different sources. We will not spend too much time on the first 2 articles here. Just like a 5-minute recap. If you want to take a look at what is in those spoilers, take a look at last week's live stream. We basically spent a full hours on those. But this time I'm looking to look at the 5 most recent spoiler articles. We can go through all of the Season 8 spoilers that have come out so far since the last stream, and every 20 minutes or so we are going to be taking a look at a new spoiler for Season 8. Other articles, we can... Okay, it sounds like I am live. Want to make sure everything is going well. Okay, good. We have 2 concurrent viewers, average... Okay, yeah. Looks like we do have some views going on now, so we are going good. So like I said, at about the 20-minute mark, we're going to reveal the first card that we have for these Season 8 spoilers. Now, I know it'll only be a few days before the spoiler article comes out, but trust me, this first spoiler is something new you've never seen in IACP before. So you want to stick around for that. We will try and get through not the spoiler gallery of itself. Maybe we just do a quick scroll here. How many spoilers are there from 2 Uru? There are going to be 4 today. There's going to be 4, and we're going to drop one about every 20 minutes. Last time I was able to squeeze a couple extra viewers out of you guys, and I would like to hit that, 8 to 9 viewer count again. But the sequel's never as good. So instead of going off of views this time, since we have more spoilers, I'm going to spread them out. And we are going to do one about every 20 minutes. And I'm expecting this to wrap up at about 2 hours. 2 hours. Feel free to engage in the chat. I'll react to whatever you guys have to say for everything. But we're going to start by just quickly recapping what we've seen so far. Again, I did a full 2-hour live stream last week. We basically went over the first 2 articles here, and the orbital bombardment card created by the community. I think I spent a good 20-30 minutes ranting on this card right here last time. Yeah, links over to this Board Game Geek thread. So we don't need to really talk about this one. It's a 4-point skirmish upgrade. It's bonkers. If you want to hear me rant about this, go back to the last live stream I did last week. But we're going to start and just re-look at the first Season 8 preview article released last week. This is Things Are About to Get Technical. So basically, last time on TheSecondFlock's live streams for IACP, we learned that there is a new... a new characteristic, a new trait coming out to Imperial Assault for the first time since the core set. This being the Technician trait. The philosophy behind this is that they are very versatile. They fix things, sabotage their opponents, improve their allies. They're very precise, they're versatile, they interact with technology. But to make up for how versatile and powerful they can be, they should be clunky. So things that take actions as a cost, things that you cannot do at the start of the round, you have to telegraph what you're doing. And the first card we got was Technician Training, which is a 0-point skirmish upgrade. That's really just a misnomer. It's there for reference. It basically upgrades, or it basically adds the trait to all of the existing cards in the game that should have the trait. So Technicians fit on Chewbacca, the Ugnaught Tinkerers, Zuckuss, Doc Afra, Chopper, the E-Web Engineers, both of them, even though only one's listed here, Gerard Kelvin, Java Scavengers, R2-D2, General Soren, and Mok Eshkare. They also explained that they felt like the steering committee feels like a trait is mostly defined by its command cards. So we got 3 to see what they're all about. So we got Disable, which is an upgrade from an existing Smuggler card. As an action, you choose an adjacent hostile figure until the end of the figure's next activation. That figure cannot use Surge or action abilities. So normally, this was a 2-cost command card in the base game, so this is not a lot for 2 points, but for 0 it might be worth it. They also made it so that instead of lasting this round, it lasts until the end of the figure's next activation, so you're guaranteed for it to at least do something. You're not going to walk up to somebody that's already taken a turn, and then it does nothing because the round's about to end. It also now works on Technicians and Smugglers. Reverse Engineer is the first completely new CC for Technicians. Basically allows you to perform an attack. You get an extra Surge. It's a 0-point card, and you get +1 Surge on the attack. You can also decide whether you use your Surges or your opponent's. The capstone for Technicians, which as we look through more articles we'll see tied to a lot of their command cards, is all in a day's work. So as the cost, you basically have to wait until one of your Technicians use a special action or do an interact during their activation, and then it focuses them and gives them an extra action for the activation, whether that's an attack or something else. And as we'll see here, the first 2 command cards for Technician both have a special action cost, which kind of plays off of all in a day's work. As a special note, To the Limit is also going to be a really great card for Technicians since they use so many special actions on their CCs. And like I said, as we go through more articles, we'll see more Technician cards that require a special action to use. I think at this point they said that there were 7 Technician cards, and I think 6 have been revealed as of today. I will tell you as a hint, first hint drop, we are not revealing a new Technician card tonight. We are revealing 4 cards, none of them are Technician CCs. I think there is one more to be revealed, just based on the number they said that there were, but this is their capstone, pretty good based on what they're all about. And then, interestingly, they didn't make Saska a Technician, or at least base game Saska, but they gave us a new Saska. So now she's a Technician, Smuggler, and Spy, can still bring in a Scum unit into your army. They upgraded her Surges, and they made her ability that she hands out these device tokens, and after you use still in that mindset, talking a little too fast. So with unstable devices, once per activation, she can give someone a device token. Then, once per round, she can let someone with a device token re-roll while attacking, and when they re-roll, they may basically do the thing Lando does and change it to a different color. So, I mean, if you give Saska a device token, she can re-roll, she can roll like a 1 damage on her green and say, you know what, let's re-roll that as a red. I've got all my Surges. And she seems like she's going to be very powerful, because that's a map-wide effect. But again, that was the quick recap of the first article. We're going to move a little faster through the first 2. Second, we got a new Jedi, Cal Kestis. We got Mr. Video Game Man himself, an 8-point Jedi for the Rebel faction. He's also our first new Technician in the game. He has Surges for +2 damage, Pierce 3, and 2 separate Surges for Cleave 2, and rolls red, yellow, yellow, so pretty good chance to get enough Surges to Cleave 2 twice, especially with something like Reverse Engineer for an extra Surge. He also has a special action which helps him proc all in a day's work, but this is Wall Run. You basically move a number of spaces up to your speed. During this movement, you ignore terrain in spaces that share an edge or corner with a wall. So as long as you're next to one of the black walls on like the maps, one of the actual walls of the game, you can walk through impassable terrain, blocking terrain, difficult terrain, doesn't count as any extra spaces, which is great. Also, note, even if you're not running next to a wall, you can use this to move 5 spaces. And even if there's difficult terrain, moving a number of spaces is not impeded by difficult terrain. It's still counted as 1 space. So you can walk through difficult terrain spaces even if they're not next to a wall. We have a couple comments here. Catching up now, 2 times speed. Yeah, catch up, Noah. I feel like I'm going at 2x speed at the moment. Aru says, keep in mind, Saska's dice changing ability is once per round. Yes, it is a once per round, but it's also map wide. She also has good Surges. She also seems like a decent, hybrid offensive unit, kind of like on the level of someone like Hera or Aphra. And she also is very versatile in who can get that reroll. You just pick ahead of time which units, once per round, you basically add a unit to the pool of units that can do it. But I feel like she's very comparable to Hera, but she also brings in a scum unit. So, like, as a reverse temporary alliance, I think she's finally worth it. Cal Kestis, continuing with him, he's got 13 health, 5 speed, a white defense die, and he also has Force Slow, which is apparently Video Game Man's signature Video Game Man ability. At the start of a round, he can choose a hostile figure within 3 spaces. That figure's group cannot be activated during its owner's next opportunity to resolve an activation. I actually thought that was timed differently. I thought it was during his activation the last time I read this. So a lot of what I thought about it might actually have been wrong. There's no point activating him last to try and get this off. It happens at the start of the round. But it is kind of an anti-take initiative, where if someone takes initiative because they want to double shoot you with like IG-88 or IG-11, or they have some big gambit play, you just force slow them and they can't do that. So you can kind of ruin people's take initiatives, or just when they regularly get initiative. Or if you play take initiative, or it's your turn to go first, you can take even more advantage of that by saying that even after that, like, you know, if they kind of play someone in the middle of the map, like IG-88, they're ready to shoot you at the beginning of the next round, you say, oh, well, you can't go first with them, you're now going to get 2 chances to kill them instead of 1, since they can't even go after your first activation. They kind of explain how his wall run ability works here, and as I pointed out, these spaces in the middle with the couches that are X'd out that say wall run doesn't affect these, it doesn't per the rules of being next to a wall, but it does per the rules of what moving a space is. So you actually can move through each of those middle spaces that are in the blue boxes without spending extra points, because you're not getting points, you're getting spaces to move. And then we get his command card, which won't load, but it's a 2-point command card that you use during your activation to summon his buddy, BD1, who is a droid technician. So this is a companion. It's not counted for the purposes of control, as it goes at the start or end of Cal's activations after he plays the command card. And as an action, you can recover an adjacent friendly figure for 2. It's a stim canister. And as double activation, you can actually discard an adjacent terminal and draw a command card. So, I mean, depending on what's in rotation, you could actually break some missions with this. They said it's not likely based on the missions they tend to put in rotation, but it's really interesting to think that, you know, we always take terminals for granted and we just fight over them. But as a double action, this guy can just remove one from the game. And he doesn't move with Cal, so like if you pull his command card round 1, you move Cal up to the terminal, play it, and keep Cal moving. If you want to just have BD1 eat the terminal right then and there for an instant command card, you could do that. And then we have Personal Energy Shield, the 4th Technician card. So you use this during your activation to gain 1 evade token. While defending during the round, apply +1 block for each evade you get. So this is kind of like giving your units cunning for the round, which is nice. There's a lot of ways that you could just think about improving this. I just have to say thank God. Thank God that this does not work on smugglers. Han and Jin don't need this card. And that's our second article. And going back to the preview gallery, in the last... okay. Going back to the preview gallery, there were 2 more cards that were previewed outside of these articles, and they were the cards from last week's live stream, Elusive and Double or Nothing. Now, these are supposed to link to the article that released them. So if I click on Set the Charge, it'll go to that article that we're going to get to. If I click on Orbital Bombardment, it goes to the Board Game Geek thread. I wonder what happens if I click on Elusive. Hey! It goes to my channel! Awesome. Alright. Well, now that I know that they're linking to where these things came from, I am definitely going to make shorts for the cards we revealed tonight, which we're coming up to soon, another 5 minutes, and there'll be time to reveal the first of our 4 cards tonight. Alright, before we go too far down in the gallery, we could just talk about Elusive. So this is a spy card I've revealed on stream last week. So it's a new spy card, and basically when you're defending, you can choose an attack and defense die and remove them from the results. So it's a reverse feint. They decided to give spies a little boost because they don't have a lot of offensive or defensive support directly, but they definitely didn't want to give spies just more cards to destroy your command cards. They already made a card to counter that because it's just such a thorn in the meta side. And Double or Nothing. This is like, what's the card for Hunters? It's the Smuggler version of, not Tools for the Job, but Heightened Reflexes. You use this while attacking to choose a die. That die's controller rerolls it. If the rerolled result has the same number of symbols as the original result, you may double or cancel its results. So, you could use this offensively. Let's say you roll a red and it rolls a 1. You can re-roll it, and if it's 1 again, it becomes 2. If you roll a 2 on a red and you re-roll it, it gets 2 again, it becomes 4. Or you can make your opponent re-roll their dodge, and if it's anything with 1 symbol on it, you get rid of that dice. So again, you can remove die results or double them. It's a very gambly, smuggly kind of card. So the next article that came out after the last week's live stream was the Super Commandos! So ladies and gentlemen, the time has come once more to take another look at some spoiled cards for IACP Season 8. And I say this has to be one of my favorite articles to date. This was actually written by Isaac. I noticed a lot of these articles are written by guest writers. They basically gave them a couple spoilers and asked them to write the article that would reveal them. So our first new card here is Mandalorian Super Commandos. So finally, we have our new IACP wing guards. Oh man, I've been waiting for Troopers and Scum. I thought we were going to get new wing guards, but this is fine. This is absolutely fine. Just leave the wing guards alone. These are actually mobile troopers with Pierce 1, so they're kind of like jets. And we'll find out more pretty soon that they're really like jets. Jet troopers. So they have Professional, Pierce 1, and Mobile. And I think the Pierce 1 and Professional will help distinguish them from the attack profile of an Imperial officer, which they have. They roll blue, yellow. They can surge for extra accuracy and +2 damage. So it's going to be interesting to see, with +2 damage surges and a Pierce 1, if they can really get some damage out. Also, they're kind of like mini Boba Fett's in that both of their abilities allow them to spend movement points in order to do things. So once during their activation, they can spend a movement point to gain 1 defense token block, and once per figure per round, they can spend 2 movement points to choose a hostile figure within 3 spaces and roll a blue die, making that figure suffer damage equal to the damage results. So again, you can move attack with these guys, or you could, if you're already in position, move jet and you're already there. Just spend the movement points on a jetpack rocket, a shield gauntlet, so you beef up, you do some true damage, and you shoot them. And they're, with different ways to get movement points in this game, that's going to be extremely powerful. Alright, we have Tuaru. He's been waiting. He says, spoiler time? And I agree, Tuaru. We'll come back to this Super Commando article in just a second. It is time for the first of our 4 IACP Season 8 spoilers. Now, as you can see, I'm going to have to be careful here. I have put this into a video format, so I'm going to have to pause it at the right time. But the steering committee, they're actually doing a couple of new things with the season. As we saw on a card like Elusive, they added the helper text to remind you about what symbols are. They actually decided to do something else new this season. Because IACP has become such a digital game, they thought it would be cool they had to work with the guy in Vassal for this, but they thought it would be really cool to create a card that had a moving image on it. So without further ado, I present to you IACP Lothcats. Guys, they're just like regular Lothcats, and they have the Hunter tag. Isn't this wonderful? Look at this, they're so cute. And, you can play on Vassal and have a moving image and everything. This is awesome. Like, I can't believe they got the technology for this to work. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and reveal the second spoiler here to go along with this, because these two first cards really go hand in hand. So, for the first time, the IACP Steering Committee has introduced a regular version of a deployment card. We have regular IACP Lothcats with holographic moving images. And they've added the Hunter trait to them. Look at that cat eating that mouse. It should have been a Hunter all along. Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to need to wait a second for the comments to start rolling in on that. But I feel like I better quickly show you what the actual first spoiler is before people get mad. You sit on a throne of lies. Guys, you know, they call it April Fools. They don't call it April 1st Fools. Alright, your first card is Bosk. It is a hunter. So the steering committee decided to take another look at Bosk, and they decided to give him a bump down from 8 points to 7. And I thought about kind of coming up with a list to showcase how that extra point helps in list building for him, but instead I decided to make the Lothcat video. Spoilers! Hey, Ken70, listen, Ken70, just make sure you understand that video before with the Lothcats, that's not real. I don't want anyone to actually think that. This is our first real spoiler, it's Bosk. I will never get this 23 minutes back. Oh, man. I hope this made some of your nights. Guys, we're getting Bosk. Are you guys just going to keep roasting me in the 20 minutes you lost, or do you have anything to say about Bosk? I think it's pretty cool. I think it'll be cool to run a list with Bosk now, because I think at 7 he's actually kind of worth it. I mean, I saw a game the other night with Trandos and Empire, and I thought maybe double Trandos with Bosk would actually work in Scum as a Hunter Brawler list. Because Bosk at 8 just felt a little too expensive, and I agree with them bumping him down to 7. And the one thing I keep disliking about Bosk is that he only rolls 2 dice to attack, and he doesn't auto-focus, but I tend to forget that he has a +2 built-in damage and accuracy, and +1 block. So he actually, hits really hard. He gets +2 damage. Oh, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's going to have to be our extra clip. I'm going to have to clip a lot of things for this one. Guys, we got Bosk! 7-point Bosk. And this is real. I know I crushed my credibility just now, but this is real. This one is true. There is going to be 7-point Bosk. And I think that's pretty awesome. I think it should help make him more playable. Let's see. Great news for that Scum Strain tank list that we saw on IA Command's list review number 1. Scum Strain tank list. Yeah, I know I watched the first one of those at least in IA Command, but I don't recall that list in particular. I think I was watching it in the background during work. But I think if you wanted to run a Scum Hunter Brawler list, or even a Strain list, you're going to need a lot of 1-point attachments like Lion Ambush if you're using Trandos. If you're doing, Strain, you're going to want... if you're doing Scum with Strain, you want Under Duress. You might want block tokens with extra armor to keep things like Bosk alive longer. Because, every attack that Bosk survives is another chance that he's going to recover 2 at the end of the round and recover his harmful conditions. So I think just lowering him a point, you can now bring extra armor, put 2 block tokens on him, 1 on each of your Trandos. He might now survive extra rounds and heal longer and survive even longer to do more disintegration. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Not sure what exactly you meant there. Or who Cotton is, but that's the first of our spoilers. And, the spoilers are all here on this thumbnail. I had to do a lot of work to try to make sure you guys couldn't get too many, hints off of that one. I think Bosk is actually the far left one over here. And pretty soon we'll see the rest of these cards. But I will say one of these cards at least, is gonna... you know what? No more spoilers. But hey, Lothcats, I said they were Hunter support, but this is really a little support for Hunters. So there you go. There you go, guys. I'm still enjoying that moment. All right. I peaked. I've peaked as a streamer. Let's get back to the Mandalorian Super Commandos and try and tear through this article before we hit the next 20 minutes and get to our second reveal for the night. Do you think it will pay off for him? I'm actually not sure who we're talking about unless we're just talking about the Scum Strain Tank list. But I mean, yeah, you could bring an extra like under duress or extra armor. You might be able to fit in like you might be able to move around your support package. Maybe a Jawa turns into a Bib Fortuna. So I think that 1 point in Bosk is going to actually matter here, make him playable. So the Super Commandos are a 4/7 Trooper Vehicle Hunter. Those are insane traits to have. A Trooper Hunter actually pairs well with the Purge Troopers from last season. He's also a vehicle, so a vehicle trooper, he pairs well with jet troopers. So this is just kind of like I mean, you can use this in Scum, right? Maybe you could build a Scum trooper list and maybe temporary alliance in some Rebel troopers to help round out your list. Actually, that sounds interesting. But I think the obvious thing here is like, oh, why don't we just put these with the jet troopers and run a vehicle trooper list, right? Well, you're actually going to have some competition because Temporary Alliance only lets you bring in 2 units, and the next unit is another one you'd want to bring into this list. Gar Saxon. He is a vehicle trooper leader. He does not have the hunter trait. He's like the leader of the Mandalorians from like season 5 or 6 of the Clone Wars, when they all start working for Maul. I'm still on season 4, so don't roast me too much on that lore right now. But he apparently shows up later in Rebels, becomes like an Imperial war dog. But he's also got mobile, like his friends. He doesn't have Pierce 1 built in, or professional, but he does have a better attack profile. They just gave him a red dice on top of the blue-yellow. And let's see. So he has Airborne Commander as his first ability. Friendly, mobile figures within 4 spaces can use your surge abilities. Now, the interesting thing to note here is that if we can load it, if we look at Scum, right, and we type in mobile, there aren't that many. We have Boba Fett, so it works with Boba. The Nexu, you could pair this guy with Nexus if you want. They get mobile. And Cad Bane. Infection, that's it. And obviously the Super Commandos. But if we turn off Scum and look at Empire, we get Jet Troopers, Probe Droids. Okay. Not a lot of figures in this game have mobile. I understand now. It's just Jet Troopers and Probe Droids. But they can use your surge abilities, which are good, because he has a surge for +2 and a surge for gain 1 block token. And normally I would say surge for gain a block token is an okay surge ability, but when you can give it to people around you, it's even better. Now it is important to note that while the Super Commandos are 4 points each, he's 6 and he only has 8 health, so he's really squishy. He also has personal combat shield. Whenever you spend a block token while defending, apply +1 evade to the defense results. So he does have that going for him, but I would almost want to give him extra armor at the beginning of the match, just to make sure that he doesn't die before he gets off an attack or 2. And then wrist, and especially because he can give these surges to friends, they can get block tokens from him, they can get extra +2s. You can give this to Jet Troopers if they get up close to the opponent and they kind of oversurge, they can, get extra +2 damages or block tokens. I mean, this even kind of works like you give, let's say, a Jet Trooper a block token, and the Jet Trooper does roll black, but they can convert 1 block to an evade. So they can just kind of treat that block token like an evade token if they want. And then Wrist Flamethrower. Choose a space within 2 spaces. Each other figure on or adjacent to that space suffers 1 damage and 1 strain. So this is cool. This is really cool. I like abilities like this. So that's going to be powerful. But then, oh, look, he's got a 3-point command card. Choose a side. So during your activation, you can use this. During the round, friendly mobile figures gain one of the following abilities based on your army affiliation. They either gain personal combat shield if you're playing Scum, or wrist flamethrower if you're playing Empire. Now I think just running around and having Gar Saxon play this, and having a swarm of jet troopers and super commandos and probe droids running up to your opponent and using wrist flamethrower, doing a bunch of strain would be insane. In fact, if you could get wrist flamethrower in your Scum list, I'm sure that would be a broken under duress list right there. Okay, a few more comments have come in. Never in all my years as a sportscaster have I witnessed something as improbable, as impossible as what I've witnessed here today. I see Noah has finally gotten to the Lothcat part of the stream. And then we have Tuturu with thoughts on Soren plus Saxon, mobile vehicles plus droids lists, with half of the list bunching around each of the leaders. Yeah, I guess HKs are going to be OP then. Oh, wait. Hold on. I found the counters. So HKs with priority target, but then you've got... Yeah, I mean, if you want to build a list like that, I'm sure Rebel Saboteurs won't have a problem just taking that down, dismantling that list and destroying the leaders. And then also, maybe we could see a rise in Flame Troopers. I'm sure they'd have no problem just spreading around strain to everyone and blast if you bunch everyone up to protect Saxon. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think the obvious thing you do is you temporary alliance in one Gar Saxon and one set of super commandos. Well, you can also just go for the 2 super commandos and focus on getting them enough movement points to jetpack rocket every round, and then just play off the trooper vehicle cards. Because, I mean, like... Here, where is it? Overrun. This alone is really strong. You can just walk on people and do 2 damage to them. You get a round where you get a bunch of movement points, you're going to be insane. And there's actually a lot of vehicle support here. I've always wanted to see people play overcharged weapons, but I never have. But if you have a bunch of little troopers, then they might actually do this. I guess you do have to you have to exhaust your deployment card to play overcharged weapons, but the attack does get pierced too. And you interrupt, like, it's basically Jin Odan. You interrupt at the start of a figure's activation, and you get a free attack. If you play that when, like, your guy has 1 or 2 health left and there's only 1 left in the unit, you know, it doesn't matter if you have to exhaust and weaken yourself. The only thing with Saxon, like, 4 range is a lot, but it's not the entire map. So you are going to have to play, you know, kind of close with him. You're going to have to find a way to keep him safe while keeping him close enough to give all of your allies surge abilities. Let's see. He said no HKs because they're not mobile. No, I was saying HKs would be the counter to a Gar Saxon list if you're going to bunch up everyone around Gar Saxon to protect him, because HKs can just see through all of the other jet troopers and, like, they can snipe Gar Saxon. So HKs, you're gonna have to, you know, worry about those. But yeah, that's one of the more interesting articles we've gotten since then. I think people are going to be really excited because that just opens up like a whole new flavorful archetype. And even too, low-key, you can now run something like Scum Troopers. You have Saxon, you got Migs Mayfeld, you've got the Super Commandos, and Rebels have a lot of troopers. Like, oh my, wait a minute, you could even temporary alliance in some AT-RTs in your Scum list and have a bunch of trooper vehicles. Yeah, you're not a trooper. But yeah, there's a trooper vehicle in Rebels that you could bring into your Super Commando Scum list. They don't have mobile, but they would be fun with Super Commandos, possibly. You know, kind of like how we see vehicle lists in Scum. Next, we've got the Season 8 preview for I'm Stronger Now Because of the Pain. So this is Video Game Man's arch enemy, the second sister. So she is an Inquisitor, and this is a first. We're getting a 5-point Force user. It's not a first because we have Yoda, but it is a first because this is the first 5-point Force user that could actually attack. This is the lowest cost offensive Force user we've seen. And already this is the lowest cost card that can innately use Lure of the Dark Side. Yoda could if you want to Sasuke in some Terran Malicos, or if you want to bring Yoda into a Scum list. I don't even know if you're allowed to, but it's definitely not good. There's too many faction restrictions on Yoda, but I don't think anything prohibits him from playing in Scum. So you could do that, but this is more, this works better. So she is a Force user, Hunter Technician, 3 traits there. Empire getting quite a bit of Hunter support between this and, Gar Saxon and his Super Commandos basically being Scum unit or Empire units too. She attacks red-yellow, which seems a little sad, a little not enough, but she gets an innate extra surge. And she has the good Jedi surges for +2 damage, Pierce 3. So she also has a search ability for Mastery. Choose and redraw a Force user command card of cost 1 or less in your discard pile once per round. Now that sounds really cool. And it probably is. You can bring back your Force Rush. You can bring back your Dark Energy. You can... I guess those are the 2 cards you would want to bring back. I think it would be cool if you could bring back Force Rush. But I understand why there is a cost limit. You do not want people playing multiple Lure of the Dark Sides per game. Granted, there are ways to do that. But this is a once per round ability that lets you bring back some of your command cards to your hand. And getting an extra Dark Energy would be nice, especially if you have let's say a Force user Hunter Brawler list. You get your parting blows off a little more often if you get some more Dark Energies in your hand. Or just Force Rush, you can, run in faster. So while Rebels have the ability to tutor Force user cards from their deck, the second sister now brings Empire the ability to reuse Force user command cards. Although, of course, there is Knowledge and Defense, which, some people Rebels can reuse, but that's only 1 card. She also has Ahsoka's Force Leap to place your figure in an empty space within 6 spaces. She also has Saber Orbit, where she makes an attack with 1 red die, targeting each figure adjacent to her, each adjacent hostile figure. I'm not sure how strong Saber Orbit really is. She does get an extra surge, and she can pierce 3, but with 1 red die and an extra surge, if your opponent gets a single evade, you're not going to get pierce 3. You might do 1 or 2 damage to black die figures, maybe, if they don't roll the evade. But she's not doing anything to the white die figures. Which seems a little anti-intuitive, because you have Force, a lot of the Jedi units that she'd be hunting down have white die. Here, let's look at Cal Kestis real quick. Let's look at Cal again. He's got a white die. So, she goes up and attacks him, and he rolls an evade, or better, and suddenly this surge is gone. Saber Orbit isn't going to do much to Cal Kestis. At least a good chunk of the time. Alright, channel is faction neutral. Oh! No, you're right. You're right. I just only see Rebels run it. Don't know why, but I only see Rebels run it. But you're right, Empire could run this. If your boss list has any Force users, you can now bring Channel the Force because it costs 1 less point. I forgot Channel the Force. So people might actually take Channel the Force now that we have a 5-point Force user with offense. And let's see. Alright, then we have Noah with spoiler time. Less talking, more spoiler. Alright, I brought up Bosk again, so we're going to have to talk about the next spoiler. Let's pull this over here. And any more comments here? Let's see, we have Tuaru with, my thought on the second sister is to make a 5 to 7 point Force user list with the Grand Inquisitor, Mara, Maul, and Terron. You know, I was actually thinking the same thing. I think that works out pretty well. I don't know what you do with the rest of your points there because they're all pretty low on the low end. I think the point of getting a bunch of 5 to 7 point units, though, like, let's see, you bring in Maul and Terran and the second sister, you have your Temporary Alliance, and you have your Grand Inquisitor. That's 25 points. You bring in Darksaber, that's 26. Zillow and Rule by Fear, that's 28. You could definitely fit in, like, one more offensive unit, whether it be something like Callus for the support and the Brawler tag, or someone like the Emperor. But you could definitely fit in at least one more big hitter there. Maybe even something like Iden, just to get the range. Anyways, as Noah said, less talky, more spoilery. So let's get to our, yes, it's been another 20 minutes. Let's get to our second spoiler. So first we have Bosk. And you know what was less played than Bosk in the previous few seasons? His command card. So they lowered his cost to 1. Trandoshan Terror is now a 1 cost card. It used to be 2. And to remind you what it does, it's a card for Bosk, and it is timed when you declare indiscriminate fire. You add 1 yellow dice to the dice pool. Now this is interesting because IACP never touched Trandoshan Terror before. Instead, what they did was they took the original Bosk. Let's do a side-by-side here. So you have original Bosk. So you have 8-point Bosk in ICP, and then you have regular Bosk, which is 8 points. So he had an ability called Indiscriminate Fire. It was a special action. You choose a space within 3 spaces in your line of sight, and roll a green die. Each figure on or adjacent to it suffers damage equal to the damage results, and strain equal to the strain results. So it used to be cool, but then they decided to upgrade Bosk by making it an attack. So after the attack resolves, if it did not miss, you choose a non-red attack die. Each other figure within 2 spaces of the target space other than the defender suffers damage equal to the damage results and strain equal to the strain surge results. Okay, they're saying choose 1 non-red attack die. Oh, okay, so you're not choosing any die. You're choosing one of the die you rolled except the red one. So they kind of upgraded Indiscriminate Fire to also do damage. Each other figure within 2 spaces of the target space. So they increased the range, but removed the attacker from the equation. But they made it do a little extra damage. With Trandoshan Terror now being at 1 instead of 2, it still just adds a yellow die to the pool. But whereas with Bosk in the base game, it adds a yellow die, so you roll green, yellow, and then you do all of that AoE damage. Bosk now adds a yellow die to his original attack, and so he rolls red, green, yellow plus 2, which is huge. And then you pick the green or the yellow, and that is the damage you do to everyone around him. Let's see. Wait a minute, Noah. You've already seen these cards. What are you so excited about? Turu, I think Noah's excited for the community to see these cards. I think he's just excited that we have a stream of content going on. We're talking about and hyping up the new season. I mean, I would be just as excited for all of these things even if I had already seen them. Because I definitely, haven't seen any of them at all. For sure. Spoilers for everyone here. Oh, I had no idea it was going to be Trandoshan Terror. But yeah, I think that's really cool that, maybe we'll actually see this in play. Every time I see a new character-specific command card, though, I get a little sad when it doesn't work on Mara. Unfortunately, Mara doesn't have an ability called Indiscriminate Fire, so she can't add a yellow die to anything. But what I find interesting is that they didn't want to touch the command card for Bosk originally, because they thought it was fine. They just change what you're adding a die to. Now it's the attack instead of the AoE damage. But now that they went in and decided, okay, no one's using his card, let's lower the cost, I feel like this would have been a good time to also go ahead and just change the card. See if there's something cooler they could come up with. But maybe that's a Season 9 thing if the Season 8 version doesn't do much. But maybe people will take this since it's only 1 point. It's not that big of a commitment to take right now. You could Afra this and actually get this off twice a game with Doc Afra. I like your funny words, Magic Man. Yes, entirely agree. Let's see, we were looking at... So yeah, that's our second card. And we'll go 5 minutes past the hour before we get to the third one, since these spoilers do take a couple of minutes to get out. About 15, 18 minutes from now, we'll do the next spoiler at 9:05. Because I want to try and make a little more progress through these. We still have 4 articles to get through. So we're talking about Second Sister. We, of course, need to then talk about her new command card. So this is apparently one of her signature abilities from the video game. This is Force Drain. It's a 1-point card for the Second Sister. You choose as a special action, you choose an adjacent enemy figure, and it suffers 2 damage and becomes stunned and weakened. And if it's a Force user, you recover 3. So in the game, she's sucking the life out of you with the Force and basically draining your Force to empower herself. So that's a good bit of flavor and a good bit of tech to show that the Inquisitors, are kind of hunting after the Jedi and have an advantage against those specifically. So she can, recover just from hitting Force users. And she does have 10 health, which that's even more than Gar Saxon has. She's pretty beefy and protective for a 5-point unit. I mean, she's got 1 less health than Terra Malicos. So that's pretty cool. And for 1 action and 1 point, you're going up to an adjacent hostile figure, doing 2 true damage and stunning and weakening them. And this is a command card that works with Mara Jade. So maybe that 5 to 7 point list does work pretty well. Because as soon as you get next to someone, you just action hit them. And because she's also a technician, she can use something like All in a Day's Work off of this and get an extra action, or you could to the limit and hit somebody. But yeah, I think this is a good card. Even if you just do 2 damage, stun and weaken, the fact that she has, that she wants to get next to people and try to saber orbit or just get off a good attack to recover some command cards. And I guess saber orbit is a little better than I thought, because even if you're not doing damage, you possibly get, if you hit 2 or 3 targets, you're probably getting at least 1 surge to bring back a command card. So at least you're getting some utility out of saber orbit. There's probably you're getting at least 1 surge off if you can't do any damage. And she's a hunter. You could just play hunter things and, decimate your opponent with cards, making each of those attacks stronger. So maybe saber orbit I'm underestimating. I forgot hunter. And technician. She could what is it called? Supercharge, and she can reverse engineer. She can do a lot. Let's see. We have another comment here. You've got to at least tell me which movie I haven't seen that your quotes are from. God, I like... You must be talking about Noah's last comment. I like your funny words, Magic Man. I know the accent that's from. Now you've got me curious. Here, this is for you, to Ryu. This is from Clone High. Yeah, this is from Clone High. This is a TV show. I've never watched it, but that's definitely one of the meme-y, phrases and quotes from that show. And it's basically where there's a bunch of clones, like the Clone Wars, but it's clones of famous people like Abraham Lincoln, and they're in high school learning how to be the next generation of leaders. So it's a funny little cartoon show. Anyways, next we get the next of our technician cards. I think this is our 5th one now that we're going through. This is Supercharge. This is one of the ones I just mentioned that'd probably be good for Second Sister. Actually, I'm sorry. You cannot Saber Orbit and Reverse Engineer because they're both special actions. And you cannot Saber Orbit and Supercharge So you're going to be more relying on your Hunter cards to pump up your damage with her if you want to Saber Orbit. Now, if you just want to attack, you can pump her up with Supercharge, because this card is a special action to perform an attack, but before you roll dice, you add yellow dice to the attack until there are 4 attack dice total. Now, I'm told that the way that this is timed and the way that it's worded is meant to be, hey, this is the last possible opportunity to add dice to the attack, and we're capping you at 4. So there's a cost after this, right? You suffer strain equal to the number of surges rolled, but we'll get to that. The max number of damage, or the max number of dice you can have on this attack is 4. So if you find a way to, say, have Second Sister, she wants to go and Supercharge. She starts with 2 dice, and then you add 2 more. You can do that, but you are adding 2 yellow dice. But let's say you're focused already. You have some way to focus her. So you're going to roll red, yellow, green. Supercharge only adds 1 more dice, because the dice for your attack are already counted. The focus dice gets added. Basically, any card that adds dice to your attack procs before the supercharged dice gets added. So really, this is best to use on an attack that's only going to have 1 or 2 attack dice, like R2-D2, or perhaps Second Sister with no buffs. What is cool, though, is that you can stack other buffs. Like, she has an innate +1. That still works. I don't know if there's anyone else that has, like, a plus 2, another technician that has, like, a innate plus damage or plus surge that you could, take advantage of this from. But, like, if you find someone like R2-D2, God, I want to pull up the technician list here. But, yeah. Like, R2-D2 or maybe like a Jawa, you can add more yellow dice here. If you have a lot of surges and a lot of good surges, you could use this to, throw in some power tokens, or you could throw in something like a Mern and hide people. Hide some of your rebel figures, and then, you get an extra surge on top of rolling 4 yellow dice. But of course, at that point, you're in danger of over-surging. Now, interestingly, there's a cost to this card. After the attack resolves, you suffer strain equal to the number of surges rolled to a maximum of 3. Now, the number of surges rolled is an interesting phrase because it's not the number of surge results. It's not canceled by any evades. So if you roll 2 surges and your opponent rolls 3 evades on their defense results, you still suffer 2 strain. Consequently, though, I think the way that's worded also means that if you use this on Second Sister, let's say you roll red, yellow, 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 her +1 innate surge is not going to count towards the supercharge because you're not rolling this surge. It just is an ability that she gets. Okay, we have a couple comments here. Let's see, we have Noah saying, I have never seen that show. Michael and I know what movie it is. So Noah, that is from a movie? Okay, you're going to have to tell me what movie that is then. Because if it's not from that show, I don't know what else it's from. That's the only place I've heard it. Then we have Tuaru going, or Jawas! Yes, you can use Supercharge with Jawas. And then I hope Jawas are good with Supercharge at least. You know who's good with Supercharge? Not Doc Afra. You know who's good with Supercharge is your girl Saskia Teft. Because she can put a device token on anyone. And it's not her that has to use Supercharge, but whoever does, if they have a device token, she can reroll the worst of your yellows into a red. So that's a really cool way to take advantage of the Supercharged dice. So like if she gives it to R2-D2 and R2-D2 wants to run up and perform an attack and roll 4 yellows, but he has a device token, he can say, oh, this single surge die and I've already got 3 surges, I'm just going to roll that into a red and get 2 or 3 more damage. Surges rolled also means you don't get hurt extra for using double or nothing. I think that's also true. I'm not going to be 100% certain on that, but I think that's also true. Okay, well that is our Empire article of last week, and then I think this was Friday's post. we're going to preview the Guardians of the Wills. And you've seen this kind of popping up in the page a few times. But yeah, we got Big Boy and Blind Guy. I'm sure that there are more respectful ways to talk about them. Let's talk about Chirrut Imwe. So these are kind of this classic duo that were in the Rogue One movie. We already have Cassian Andor, who has his own show. He's in IACP. We have Jyn Erso. We have K2SO. And I think from the Rogue One crew, we're basically missing Chirrut Imwe. Baze Malibos, I think is his name, but we'll get to him. He's on the cover page here, so spoilers. He's down here, and he's pretty awesome. And so is Chirrut. And I guess we're also missing their pilot, which, there's some talk about that in the Create a Custom Card thread, but maybe one day we'll see him. Maybe one day we will, But Chirrut Imwe, today, he is the Guardian of the Wills. He's a 4-point brawler / guardian. He has built-in reach, which is nice, and he surges for +2 and cleave 1. He's got a speed of 4 and a health of 8, and his devout ability allows him to use Rebel Force User command cards. Now, specifically, he can use Rebel Force User command cards, which means if we take out Empire and Scum, you can't use those. You look at something like, let's see. You look at like I'm looking for one that isn't like Deflection. This can be used by any Force user. Cannot be used by Chirrut Imwe. You can only use Rebel Force user cards. That is still useful though, because you can use Rebel Force user knowledge and defense. He can add a black die to his defense pool. But because he is not a Force user, he does not gain the Surge ability to redraw the card. So he can use the card, but he can't redraw it. He can use Get Behind Me, which is good. He's also a Guardian, so he can use it. He can't use Telekinetic Throw, but he can use Meditation, Powerful Influence, which are not really all that seen. But he cannot use Force Surge. He cannot use Force Rush. So he's kind of limited in what he can do. I think he might only... Hold on, let's get rid of the neutrals. Knowledge and Defense, Meditation, Powerful Influence, and Force Push. He can use Force Push. So it's really only 3 playable cards he gets off of this. Force Push, Knowledge and Defense, and what was the third one? We do see Force Push, we do see Knowledge and Defense. I don't think we see either of these. I think it's just Knowledge and Defense and Force Push we're going to see on him. But his second ability is and he can use Get Behind Me, but he's a brawler, so he can use that anyways. But it is really cool what they named his next 2 abilities. First is I Am One with the Force. When a ranged attack targeting you is declared, choose an adjacent hostile figure. If you do, apply -1 to the attack results, and the chosen figure suffers 1 damage. So I think that's a really strong ability, especially if you position right. But it also works with the second part of his mantra, The Force is with me. At the start of a hostile figure's activation, you may move up to 2 spaces to a space adjacent to a hostile figure, limit once per round. So you can The Force is with me to use I'm one with the Force. It's kind of out of order, but I bet if Chirrut had known Yoda, he would be talking that way too. But this is cool. I think I'm One with the Force is actually used, reference to a point in the movie where he takes a stormtrooper and uses his body as a human shield against a bunch of other stormtrooper shots. It's been a while since I've seen Rogue One, but that is apparently what they talk about somewhere in this article, so that's really nice. But yeah, I think he's going to be a really cool guy to jump in, do a bunch of damage, and then basically be like, I dare you to attack me because it's going to hurt and I'm going to stick around and be annoying. He also has 3 die as a 4-point attacker, so that's nice. Let's see, what do we got? Thoughts on bringing Saska into a Jawa swarm list for the trait synergy and support? That's interesting. Hey guys, go ahead and, let's hype up these viewer counts if we can a little bit, because we're 5 minutes away from our next spoiler here. Alright, couple more minutes and we're going to do another spoiler. We'll probably talk about Lightbow and then get into the spoiler. But yeah, bringing in Sasuke into a Jawa Swarm list for trait synergy and support. Well, I think the question there is bringing Sasuke worth not being allowed to bring Bib? I think Sasuke and Afra have a lot of synergy, and they should go together. In fact, I can see Rebels doing lists with Sasuke, and then using Sasuke to bring in Afra, and basing the list off of that. I can see that happening. Sasuke in Scum, I'm not sure I see that as much, because you cannot bring Bib. I can see it once in a while, because you can have one of the Jawas reroll. But, like, if you're bringing 5 or 6 Jawas, you can only pass out one device token around. Like, you maybe put it on the right Jawa, you maybe didn't put it on the right Jawa. And then, next, for Chirrut, though, we have a signature command card, Light Bow. It's a special action to perform a ranged attack using 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 green die, so 3 attack die. The attack gains +2 accuracy, +1 surge, +1 damage surge, and a Pierce 4 surge. That is the first time we've seen a Pierce 4 in the game. Even a Zillow can't really slow down the Pierce on this as much. If you tap Zillow, you're still getting Pierce 2, so it'd be interesting to see the interactions we're going to see between Lightbow and Pierce 4. Because you are probably likely to get 1 or 2 surges on this at least. And the attack can only use these abilities, though. So you are getting at least 5 range on this, so you can shoot pretty far. I think your max range is a 10. So you're getting 5 to 10. Interestingly, you cannot add any abilities to this, so no other command cards to add damage to it or anything. But if you want to bring Chirrut and you want to bring Mara, you can do that. In Rebels, Mara is a Guardian, so Chirrut would be a 4-point Brawler Guardian, quote-unquote Force user, a kind of, sometimes Force user, and Mara Jade is a Force user Brawler Guardian in Rebels. So I think that might be a good synergy. Okay, 9:04, guys. I think it's about spoiler time. What do you guys say we get to our third spoiler for the night? So I promise I didn't have time to edit any more videos about cats or anything like that. But we can just get into a straight real spoiler. We've talked about Bosk. We've talked about Trandoshan Terror. And for the third trifecta of recosts this season for you, I have Verona Talos is getting a recost from 8 points to 7. And I think she's kind of in the same boat. Eventually in the IA Command channel, you're actually going to see a video where we talk about some of the Season 8 cards coming out. And when we talk about Verona and Bosk, we talk about how 8 points kind of seems like the sweet spot where you kind of need to not be a queen piece, but you need to be better than a knight piece. And you need to do like 1.5 attacks worth of damage. The problem with Bosk and with Verona is that they were really kind of doing more like 1.25 points, 1.25 attacks per activation, and not necessarily 1.5. Because whereas a 9 or 10 point queen piece needs to basically get 2 attacks off per activation, and a 5 to 7 point activation just needs to make 1 strong attack with maybe an extra ability. 8 points kind of seems like the sweet spot. And that's why in that video we talk about how Cal Kestis, being an 8-point Jedi, has 2 separate surges for Cleave 2. And in playtesting, there was a point where he only had 1 of those 2 surges. But it just felt like he wasn't doing quite enough, so having that extra surge ability there helped out a lot. So for Verona, we're just going to see her go down a point. And she is a Spy Brawler. So those are 2 strong and powerful traits in this game. She does have an innate evade, which makes her a lot more defensive. She has 11 health, which I think is on par with Leia, but she's 1 point less now. Leia's got 11 health, and they always talked about how squishy she was. And Verona, even with her evade, also has 11 health, so you can see how at 8 points she's also kind of squishy at 8. But at 7, she's looking a lot better, a lot more fuel for the fire here. And just to review, so Verona, everything else on this card is the same. She still attacks with 3 dice, has 4 speed, and black defense. She's also got improvised cover. While defending, if you're adjacent to an object or non-friendly figure other than the attacker, apply +1 block to the defense results. So she can kind of get that really big, tanky kind of vibe going on. If she gets into the swarm of things, maybe you bring her with Chirrut, who we were just talking about. You bring her with Imwe. And she just gets into the thick of things and gets +1 blocks. If you're adjacent to an object or non-friendly figure other than the attacker. So this is a little interesting. It's not like Cara Dune where you have to be next to a wall. But at this point, I can kind of see a Cara Dune, Verona Talos, Chirrut Imwe, conditional defensive ability list. Kind of like Deflection Jedi, but you have to position even more perfectly. And then you throw in Cal Kestis because you need to run next to walls. But she does fit in the fact that she's a brawler, and she would do good with Imwe and Cara Dune as brawlers. And I think we might see a little more Verona this season. All right, so that's 3 of our spoilers, and I know so far I have shown you a meme and 3 recosts. But I have excitement for our last spoiler. In 20 minutes at about 9:28, 9:30, we are going to do our final spoiler for the night, and this is actually a brand new card. For all of the faded out, blurred out images on this screen, it's actually the one I put in the front because there's no way you guys could tell that that's a retrain of something else because it's not. It's a new card I have to show you. You can see on the right, Trandoshan Terror is kind of blurred out in the green, and on the left, you've got Bosk followed by Verona, because at this point we've seen them all. But we've got one more spoiler for you in just another 20 minutes. And that's going to be the actual new card for the night. Again, they're all new to they're all updated IACP cards. But this is going to be completely new, not a retrain, not a recost, not even a rework. This is a new card being added to the game. And we're going to see that in about 20 minutes. Right now, let's try and wrap up with Baze Malibus. Get through some more of these previews. So Baze is a new Guardian and Heavy Weapon character. He's 6 points. He has +2 accuracy and 2 surges for +1 damage, cleave 1, and blast 1, cleave 1. But he has +2 accuracy. But he has cleave 1. Wait, does he have blast 1 and cleave 1 on the same attack? Does this mean what I think it means? Yeah, he is the second figure in the game to be able to do ranged cleave, and he has 2 surges for it instead of 1. So he is the de facto, he is the definition of a heavy weapons character. I just remember in the movie, he basically walks forward with his freaking power pack, and he's just blasting, blah, 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 blah. And he is going to do a lot of damage to a lot of figures, especially in Rebels, which have the Rebel Salvador archetype, and you have things like heavy weapons. I think that's the name of the deployment upgrade, the skirmish upgrade. Heavy weapons, you've got reduced to Rebel, you've got so many ways to do damage, Saw Gerrera, just so many ways to do damage to things that are next to things. And he can even do it with things that are far apart from things, as long as he can see them. But he does only have one way to increase his base damage, which is a surge for +1. I think power tokens would be great on him. Oh, look at that! At the start of his activation, Into the Fray, he gains a power token for each hostile figure within line of sight to him. So you could actually get 3, 4, 5 power tokens. Unfortunately, he can only carry 2. Each figure can only carry 2. So he can charge up to 2 at the start of his turn. But he also has Assault. A card an ability we don't see often in IACP or IA. He can perform multiple attacks each activation, just for free. And then hold the line. At the end of your activation, you gain 1 block token for each hostile figure within line of sight to you. So you start your turn, you get a bunch of power tokens, then you get to attack twice if you want, and you get to do ranged cleave and ranged blast and extra damage, and you have a 3-die attack, and you have 11 health, and oh thank goodness, he's got 3 speed. At least they found some way to balance him. Oh wait, he gets a free movement point at the start of his turn, and that part's not conditional on how many hostile figures he sees. So he's not really speed 3, he's kinda sorta speed 4. Maybe you call him speed 3.5. He just always gets 1 movement point, to clarify. The first part with the power tokens is based on how many figures he sees at the start of his turn. The second part with the movement point is just a given. There's no way to get 2, there's no way to get 0, you always get 1. So yeah, Baze Malibus, he looks kind of crazy, and he just goes into the middle of the battle and starts blasting. Well, at least I'm sure his command card will be, fair and balanced. Use when a friendly figure within 3 spaces has suffered damage equal to its health but before it is defeated. Perform a move or attack. If you have not activated this round, recover 2. Hey, I wonder if this works on him. Use when a friendly figure, well, he is friendly to himself. Great, so he can, just decide not to die sometimes. This is Final Stand. Baze Malibus is crazy. He's insane. The only... I know people have said that this is kind of like having a second chance mixed with extra protection from Onar. That's kind of what the idea of this has been. And how is this not a 3-point card? And the response has been, well, it's only a second chance if you use it when he dies at the right moment and your opponent knows that Baze can have this card, so maybe they don't try to kill him. Right? Maybe they save him for an opportune moment when he's not going to get much out of this. So we'll see. But also, unlike extra protection, you only get a move or attack. You don't get both. So you kind of have to be in position already. However, because Baze is a Guardian, you can use this with Get Behind Me. Have Baze run up right where he needs to be next to somebody, take the attack for them, and then say, okay, well, I'm also going to recover 2 now that you've killed me. I'm going to recover 2 so that I don't die and get a free attack on you. And now I have 2 figures, and you might not have the one that was attacking. So that's a very powerful combo, and I think he'd go good in a list with Mara, because she's also a Guardian. Is he going to be good in a Sabador's list, or is he coming to take the job of the Sabadors? That's the question here. Okay, no other comments quite yet. But we've reached the end of the Baze Malibus and Short Imwe article. I think it's really great that these guys are finally in IA. It feels like a lot of what we've gotten so far has been filling out gaps in IACP. Like, we had half of the Rogue One cast, now it feels like we have all the main cast. I guess there's that pilot guy. It's been a while since I saw that, though. But, like, we filled out the 2 highly requested characters from that movie people wanted. Season 7, we got Taron Malicos. But it's like, what, is he like I haven't played the game. I haven't played Video Game Man's video game. But, like, oh, he must be, like, the mid-boss of the game, right? Someone that, like, kind of helps you, but then kind of turns against you or something. He's not with the bad guys, but he's not with you. I don't know. But they didn't have the big bad of the game. They didn't have the main character of the game. What's going on with that? And then, I think it's the next article, we're getting Del Miko. And he is another video game man. He is from the Battlefield 2 2017... Sorry. He's from Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017. He's the second member of the Inferno Squad to be introduced to the Imperial Assault. He joins Iden Versio as the shifty and flexible scalpel to the Imperial toolbox. So again, it kind of feels like we're filling out a lot of the things that have been missing from IACP at this point. It's just like a lot of the kind of groups of characters that weren't really finished. Like, here's the rest of them. And I noticed that a lot of them are technicians. I even heard Noah, I think, at some point say, hey, the reason we didn't put Video Game Man in Season 7 is because technician as a trait was not ready yet. It wasn't there. But Taron Malicos, he's good to go. Let's ship him. Just ship him. Ship him as is. So we have Del Miko. the Inferno Squad Specialist. A Technician Trooper Spy, which, okay, that's a lot of good traits. He's got a Surge for +2 and a Surge for +2 accuracy, rolling 3 dice. He's probably going to get enough Surges to get that +2 off. And he has Expertise. After you perform a special action, you may perform an additional action once per activation. He also has Gifted Mechanic. Choose an adjacent friendly droid or vehicle. If you do, you and that friendly vehicle recover 1 damage and gain 1 power token. So that's actually more powerful than I gave it credit for at first. You heal a little bit and get a little bit of power to 2 figures. Now, you can't just heal himself. You do have to be adjacent to a droid or vehicle, because you have to choose them, and then if you chose someone that's next to you that is a droid or a vehicle, you then recover 1 and give a power token. So if you want to bring him for his Gifted Mechanic ability, you do need to bring some droids or vehicles to work with. But hey, maybe this will be when we start seeing Probe Troopers in IACP. I can see Probe Troopers with power tokens and a little bit of healing being really good. In fact, I think Probe Droids... let's see, bring all these back in. Probe Droids can recover with a Surge. So with Del Meeko, they can recover more. Probe Droids might be like really hard to kill now. You could make tank probe droids. And then, as an extra surge ability, after this attack resolves, gain 1 movement point or any power token of your choice. So he has an ability to either move further or get more power tokens, maybe to keep himself alive for longer and keep supporting the rest of the team. He also has an attack profile very similar to the probe droids. He's got the surge for +2, and he has 2 blue dice, so he gets the range. He's more like a sniper, and the yellow dice. Now here we see Support Specialist. This is Del Meeko's card. You choose a friendly droid, technician, or trooper within 3 spaces. That figure interrupts to perform an action. This costs 2 points, so it's a little pricey, but it's a free out-of-activation action. And we've actually seen that there are ways to chain this with other things, because there are some actions that are like, hey, when you do an attack, do this. I don't know if any of you guys can comment some of the combos that people have already come up with for this, but people have already seen Support Specialist being really cool. For example, if you get Mara Jade in a list with Del Meeko, have Mara Jade use Del Meeko's card on Del Meeko, then Del Meeko will perform an action. Maybe he could perform Gifted Mechanic, heal and get a power token, and then also... once per activation, he can Expertise after he performs a special action to perform an additional action. So you could just straight up give Del Meeko kind of a whole turn right there. And I think this works with a lot of the Technician's cards. So you could use this to have a Technician use Set the Charge, which is our next card. And we'll talk about that in a second, but I want to point out, here's another introduction to the reminder text. So actions include attack, move, interact, and special action abilities. And they just kind of show that there are 2 versions of the card, one with reminder text, one without. They're looking for feedback on whether people like that. I think it's nice. They're basically trying to add... Someone said in the last stream, they're trying to make this game Magic the Gathering, which I totally see here with that. But moving on, we have Set the Charge. So this is a special action for technicians. You choose a space within 3 spaces and roll a blue die. You open any unlocked doors adjacent to that space, and then each figure or object on or adjacent to that space suffers damage equal to the combined damage or surge results. So, Imperial Assault die faces. Let's just pull that up. New tab, please. And then scroll it. So we saw earlier with the Super Commandos that they can use their jetpack rockets to roll a blue dice and then do damage equal to the damage results. You can see here that there's actually one side where they do no damage, and then there are 1, 2, 3 sides where they do 1 damage with that, and 2 sides where they do 2 damage. What I always have disliked about abilities like that like that use the blue, green, or yellow dice for doing damage, is that there's always a chance, and especially on the yellow dice, there's a good chance you're not going to do any damage with that ability, especially when it takes an action. However, this new card, Set the Charge, does damage to everyone equal to the damage and surge results together, which is actually a 50-50 chance to do 2 damage and a 50-50 chance to do 1 damage. But I love that they brought up the damage floor here. I like that this will always do at least 1 damage to everything on or adjacent to it. This is a 2-point Grenadier, right? Grenadier always does 1 damage at least. It's more likely going to do 2. It's it's most likely to do 2. It kinda can do 3. But for 2 points, it's 50-50. 1 or 2 damage, but it's doing that. But it's also going to open unlocked doors for you. Now, you might, they say here, you want to watch out for, you want to look at the rotation and make sure that, you're in a good map. Let's see, Del Mico, even if there aren't any unlocked doors to use this card on, it still works great as a lesser version of Grenadier, especially since you're always guaranteed to do at least 1 damage, though you can't get 3 damage per figure like the original Grenadier can. Yeah, so I would not, it doesn't really matter if there are doors to open, great. This opens the door and saves you an action. It's basically you put a charge on the door, you run away and you explode it, and everyone next to the door dies. That's a great way to open a door from range or safety. And someone like Del Mico can use this and then also use Expertise to still have 2 actions on their turn. But you can also just throw it as a grenade that always does a little bit of damage, and that's pretty cool. And I think as the 6th or 7th Technician card at this point, this is going to see some play, and I think it's going to be really good, and I think cards like To the Limit and All in a Day's Work are going to see a lot of play with Technicians. So that covers this article. We actually only have one more. Now, interestingly, all the other articles kind of start with a card and then talk about like a deployment card, talk about it, and then talk about how their command cards kind of work with that card. This one didn't. This one just kind of starts with the command cards and saves the best for last a little further down. Well, I guess there's only 1 command card and then 2 upgrades. But we'll see how much of this we can get through before we get to our final spoiler in 5 minutes. Guys, this is the actual new card. If you want to post on the Discord or something right now, 5 minutes from now is when we're showing the last new spoiler of the night. So let's see how many viewers we can get for that. All right, let's talk about leaders. So, first card here is Field Promotion. And I do like the way that this guy wrote the article. This was written by Gabe Charlo. This is Gabe, otherwise known as Destructor. Hey, Destructor, how's it going? I recognize that name a lot more. And you wrote this article, and I do like the way that you wrote this. Now, it's no secret that the leader trait hasn't been much of an archetype. Mostly, leaders are either the trait that you realize you have when you're short a command card or 2, which I don't even do that most of the time, or something you quickly check for when you add planning to your command deck. Did I bring Gideon? Did I bring Jabba? Is that Bib Fortuna? Do I have an Imperial officer? I got something. Okay, I can bring planning. Well, today, we have a new option for you that might make you take a second look at who has the leader trait. Introducing Field Promotion, a leader card that you use when you resolve an attack targeting a figure. If that figure has been defeated, and notice it doesn't say that you have to defeat the figure. I don't know what interactions would work there, but you use it after you resolve an attack targeting a figure. If that figure has been defeated and your army affiliation is Rebel or Imperial, you gain 4 VPs and increase your figure cost by 2. And it's like Celebration, except you also kind of risk giving your opponent extra VPs because you get promoted, you become more valuable. So if you have Gideon run up and he shoots at a Stormtrooper and kills the Stormtrooper, and he plays field promotion, he gets 4 extra VPs. That's his bonus for doing so well in the field. But he now becomes a 5-point Gideon, and killing Gideon will give your opponent 2 extra points. Now, Gabe points out that this is still a net positive, and so it's probably worth bringing to your list, and that it exclusively restricts Scum people from playing it because they don't want Scum to get extra VPs more than they already can. Let's not break the game. But then Gabe notes that there might be a little bit of a rise in Scum or Empire and Rebel VP lists, which would be nice. And at this point, you can play Celebration, Of No Importance, and Field Promotion, and make a 12-point VP swing with just a couple of cards. But the important thing to know is I don't think, increasing your figure cost is a cool thought, but I don't think there's any way to benefit off of that in this game right now. I don't think there's anything here that just says, hey, if you're a higher level VP cost, you can do this. I mean, if you put this on a 10-point figure and they become 12, you can't use Get Behind Me on them. But most of the time, figure costs are referred to in things like list building, what you can put things on. So really, this can just kind of hurt you. Yeah. And second, newsflash, eWebs now cost 0 points. Sorry, no, not eWebs. Overwatch now cost 0 points. So the steering committee basically said, hey guys, we made eWebs, we buffed them for you, and then we made a whole new card for you to use specifically with the eWebs, and you won't freaking do it. You still play Lion Ambush with them. You won't even use it 50-50. This card only works on the eWebs. Please bring Overwatch. You know what? It's free now. Just just take some eWebs. It's a free upgrade. It's basically IG88's, what is it called? It's basically the upgrade card for IG88. Focused on the kill. This is focused on the kill, but for your 5-point non-unique eWeb engineers, and it's not even a unique card, which means you can bring 2 of them for free. I'm starting to worry that my Empire lists are going to have so many cards in them because so many of them cost 1 or 0 points that I am going to have to... It's going to be like having an entire Yu-Gi-Oh deck on your playmat. Like we're already breaking the bounds of Vassal. They set aside 12 slots for cards, and I already see people playing lists with 13 or 14 sometimes. This is just another way that's going to bring it up to 15 or 16 cards in your Empire list. Personally, I think it's cool. Now you have an interesting choice, because do you want a 5-point eWeb with Overwatch? Or do you want to lose the Overwatch ability for the opportunity to bring something like Lion Ambush? Or something else? So I think this actually makes it an interesting opportunity cost question for your lists. But I also think it would be better to make this a unique attachment. I think if it's a 0-point card, there's no reason we should bring 2. Because now you can bring Overwatch again, and you can bring Advanced Comm Systems, and now you have 3 0-point cards in your list. And if it's Empire, also bringing Rule by Fear and Zillow Technique, that's 5 cards for a total of 3 points. Sure, you have to bring 2 eWebs for that to work, but that's 7 cards for 13 points. That's less than 2 points a card. So I personally think it should be... unique if it's going to be free. But I don't know if that's a balance issue or not. So we'll just have to see how that lies. I have more of a problem with our next card, Vader's Finest. But it's spoiler time. It's 9:30. It's spoiler time. We have Tuaru with a few comments saying he's the only one here. Hey, buddy. That's all right. More people will see this later. And I will be sure to post many, what are they called, YouTube shorts on all of the rest of the cards that we went through tonight. Actually, we see about 3 people here. They're getting ready. They're ready for the spoiler. If you guys are ready, let me know. Yep, and Turu said someone else. Hoorah! All right. So here is the exciting point of the night, guys. We went through Scum Unit, Scum Unit's personal card, and a Rebel card. But now we're getting an all-new card. And I can tell you, it works with one of the factions. And I think it's about time to just show it off here while we have a couple people in the stream introducing tonight's all-new, brand new spoiler. It's Just Business. This is a card for use by Rebel. Oh, I messed it up. Just Business. You see who's on the card. It's your man Hondo. This is a card for Scum leaders. Use this at the start of the round, and during this round, friendly Scum figures gain Professional while within 3 spaces of you. Those figures may reroll 1 attack die while attacking, and that's your reminder text. So, this card gave me a lot of questions when I saw it. First of all, how did he get so many crates, man? There's like only 3 or 4 in a mission, and he stole them all. Look at that art. He's stolen all the crates. But really, I like that Hondo's on this, and it's a way to buff the damage of your entire army. Oh my god. Think about a Jawa Swarm with Professional on all the attacks. You don't need to bring Sasuke. Just Utini! Run forward and everyone gets a reroll. But here's the thing. Let's pull up this. Let's just do a quick refresh here. Okay. Let's make a Scum list. Let's look at leaders. Oops, leaders. We have Jabba the Hutt, Hondo Onkawa, Terran Malicos, and Cad Bane. And then Bib Fortuna and Jawa Scavenger. You have 6 options, 6 characters in the game that can play this card. And then we have Tuaru saying, "Ah, yes, the counterpart for field promotion. I should have seen this coming." The counterpart? Ah, right, because, yes, field promotion we were just talking about is a card for Rebel or Empire leaders. This is the card for Scum leaders. Now, I think your best options to use this are going to be Hondo Onkawa or Cad Bane. Although, is this Loki a buff to Scum Force users? They could use an extra reroll. Terra Malicos could use a reroll. And note that this does give friendly Scum figures gain Professional while within 3 spaces of you. Your own self is going to be within 3 spaces of you, so for 1 point, Terra Malicos can give himself and his friends a reroll. I think, in general, Scum Hunter lists are going to want this on Cad Bane, and Scum Smuggler lists are going to want this on Hondo. Thank God that we have something to make up for the fact that Terra Malicos is not a brawler, though. He is a leader, and he can lead his Scum Force users with Professional. Now, Professional just lets you do a die. You can reroll a die when you attack. Jabba can technically play this card, but he's sitting in your deployment zone, and he's not going anywhere. Don't put this on Jabba, unless you're surrounded by a bunch of opponents, and they're trying to take your terminal from you, and you're going to lose the fight. And this is your last desperate struggle, then that's when Jabba pops it. But now Bib can play this card, but he is kind of squishy. Same with Jawa Scavenger, and Bib especially you want to keep alive, so he can do his other support effects. So I really think the trifecta of people using this are going to be Cad Bane for Hunters, Terran Malicos for Force users, and Hondo for Smugglers. I really see Cad Bane working with this because of his I Make the Rules now. He can move outside of activation and reposition himself to be within 3 spaces of someone else who's about to attack. Meanwhile, Hondo just has an extra speed. And Cad also has mobile, so he can kind of hide in and out where he needs to be to make this work. Now you might think, Cad Bane has mobile, and he has the I Make the Rules now. Aren't those Super Commandos also mobile? Yes, they are. And they support mobile, but they also have Professional, so it's not going to be that great on them. I don't think you can gain Professional twice I forgot what the ruling is on that, but there are diminishing returns on getting extra rerolls per attack, and they only roll 2 dice. So it is very less often that you need to roll 2 dice than 1 dice. And if I look up the word professional within Scum, we have Gamorrean Guard. It's got to be more than Gamorrean Guard. I know that the Band Mando had professional, and the Super Commandos have professional, but not a lot of figures do. A lot of figures have targeting computer. So, like HK's here, so they would get the professional ability, and they could reroll an attack die and reroll with professional. And it might be useful if you have a focused HK, right? You might want to reroll 2 dice. But again, you do get diminishing returns on using this with multiple people. And are you really running Cad Bane in a HK Assassin droid list? Maybe if it's an Empire and you want to Generals ranks your HKs. But I don't think... I mean, you could. This might be a reason to. But I don't know how well that's going to work. But I mean, Smuggler lists can make great use of this. Like, guys, imagine having 6 Jawas all with rerolls. And then they all start playing Technician cards when they attack. Oh, command cards are going to be really important, and Jawas are going to be insane this season. And we have a couple comments from Turu. Ah, yes, the counterpart for field promotion. I should have seen this coming, right? And then everyone left after the spoiler. Lol. Yeah, that's kind of what happens. That's kind of how it goes. I mean, even I'm getting ready to leave here. But we're near the end of going through these spoilers so far. And I do want to thank you guys for joining, even for a short time, if you did. Turu, thanks for staying basically this whole time. We're going to wrap this up in the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're going to call it a night. I think it's been a good night for spoiler streams. It's unfortunate that everyone has left, though, because I need to give out my grim warning. Vader's Finest has gotten an upgrade, and I was already considering using this in a list. This is not okay. It's 1 point now. And that's fine. But then they also took the thing that made it balanced and not usable and just made it busted. So you attach this to a group of troopers, and figures in the group all gain action, perform an attack, then get 2 movement points. An action to discard 1 harmful condition and become focused. Oh, wait a minute. This is once per group per round? Oh my god. Oh my god. Never mind. This isn't so bad. Never mind. I did not read that word. Is that how it used to be? Hold on. Hold on. I didn't read that. That was... This might be the balancing act. It did not used to say once per group per round. And I didn't see that part here. Okay, this might actually be fine. That is important. Only 1 unit can focus per round as an action. Fine. I thought we were going to see round 1. We were going to see, snowtroopers. We were going to see these guys all sit in their deployment zone, focus up, run to cover closer to the battlefield, and then round 2 start blasting and getting extra movement points. But no, only 1 of them can do this per round. That's fine. That's fine. This would have been insane. That would have been insane. And Stormtroopers, basically this would have been a Stormtrooper recost to 8, but they have to focus. They spend an action to focus round 1 and get extra movement points. So this is actually better on like single units, which, okay, you want to focus Iden round 1 and then have her run up and attack next round, like, that's powerful, but it's not busted. I thought we were going to see people put this on like two sets of stormtroopers or 2 sets of snowtroopers and just have like 6 focused units round 1. Jesus, I'm glad they caught that. You're seeing what I'm seeing with the Jawa swarm list viability. Yep, yeah. I don't know that I'll run it, but I know it's going to be insane, and I'm not going to know what to do about it. They said, and then you said they didn't have that line on Vader's Finest when the card first went up. You didn't miss it. So they are stealth changing cards. Ah, so that's another new version. Yeah. Okay. Did you guys change that in reaction to us saying that? Oh, hello. Important update. As of 4/18/23, after this article was posted, this card's second ability text to focus a figure has been updated with limit once per group per round. This text was not included on the card when the article was written, and opinions expressed in this article may not reflect the updated wording of the card. The question is this in reaction to the feedback of this card? Is this the day 0 nerf? Or was this already in internal testing and they just had to post it and update it and they got the wrong version of the card out? Because I did see this one. I did see this one 2 weeks ago. You'll see in the next IA Command podcast episode that in our wrap-up of talking about some of this stuff, Noah's like, hey, you see any issues with Season 8 stuff? And I was like, Vader's Finest. This is a problem. It didn't have that sentence. Holy crap. This makes it fine. This is fine. It's okay now. Oh, this is okay now. This seems okay now. Maybe this will be really good on heavy troopers. Heavy storm troopers. I feel like I almost had a heart attack seeing that change right there. Oh, hey, Forrest, what's going on? Hey, we went through some spoilers for IACP. I've got a friend in the chat asking what's going on. We had a couple people popping in and out for the past couple of hours. I'm about to wrap up, but we're talking about the new cards coming out to Imperial Assault. And I just got to show everyone a couple of new cards for the first time. I had to make a very cool thumbnail with blurred out images of all the cards. And just recosts of some of the cards that are coming out. And then a brand new card I showed everyone just a few minutes ago. And then you missed me have almost a heart attack saying how broken this new card was going to be until they balanced it. And they put in bold, there was an update here that they balanced it for us. But I'm going to help everyone get out of here soon and wrap this up. So instead of reminiscing with a friend, we might be able to chat after Forrest. But we're going to talk about Scout Troopers. So this is the last card from the last article out so far. And they've got a retrain. So no one was playing Scout Troopers, and they're finally getting an upgrade. Their ability to weaken someone is no longer a special action. It's just part of when you attack, you can choose to get +1 surge or to weaken the opponent. And I think that's great. Also, when they attack a weakened opponent, they can reroll an attack dice. And that's any negative condition, actually. While attacking a figure with a harmful condition, you may reroll 1 attack die. So I don't know if they actually had... Oops, that was the wrong tab. I don't know if they had that ability beforehand. Basically the off-kilter professional scout. So they used to have camouflage. They still have that. It's the same. They still have +3 built-in accuracy, surge for +2, surge for +3 accuracy. They also have an extra surge for Pierce 1. So if you roll enough range and you roll enough range, you roll 2 surges, you do get something else to use it on. So that's kind of nice. So while Find Weakness used to be a... So you used to need to find weakness as an action and then exploit it by getting a +1 on your surge. You now just choose, do you want to weaken or get a +1? And then to exploit the weakness, you get a reroll. So that's actually, these are pretty good upgrades. I think it's nice. I think people will play them. I don't know if I will. Nothing against them. But there's only so much you're going to get to play with the time you get in this game. Maybe we can see ATST Scout Trooper lists just because there's some different art here and I see an ATST peeking out back there. Troopers are going to have fun this season. There's a lot coming out that just happens to have troopers, and low-key, there's going to be a lot of new troopers. Or low-key, there seems to be a lot of trooper stuff that's not really prominently trooper. It just is also trooper. Like, Del Miko is a trooper in addition to those other things. Vader's Finest works on troopers. E-Web's recost thing, this is for a trooper. Field promotion, maybe there's leader troopers that'll work on. And then these guys are retrained troopers. And then Super Commandos, we're going to see Scum Troopers. I hope so. And Jets. Oh my god, Jet Super Commandos are going to be a thing. Turu said, I'm sort of worried about Vader's Finest on Del Miko. Both abilities are really good for no action cost. And then Turu also says, I love how old the Scout Trooper is sitting down. How the old Scout Trooper is sitting down, but the new one is actually shooting. Oh, so you actually like the new art more? I'm not sure. I kind of like the rusted camo colors of the old Scout Trooper art. But it does make sense. Like, the new one is like, I'm ready to fight now. The old one's like, yeah, I'm just taking a lunch break. I'm on my union-mandated chill time. Yeah, I think that about wraps everything up for today. I think there's one more thing I wanted to say. So you're worried about Vader's Finest on Del Miko. Let's take a look. Del. So the reason I'm not too worried about it is because, expertise, after you perform an action, you may perform an additional action. This is once per activation. So like round 1, he can focus, he can move, and he can attack. Like, he can't get a 4th or a 5th action off of this. And if he's focusing, he's not getting the power token. I guess you could, round 1, you could focus and get the power token and move 4. That might be really strong. But it does turn him from a 5-point unit to a 6-point unit, so maybe that's kind of balanced. He might be a little squirrely. He might be hard to deal with Vader's Finest, but I don't know that it'll be broken. My suggestion is give it a shot and show us why we need to fix it. But the issue might be with Del Miko, not Vader's Finest. That last line saves everything. Alright, well, this is going to do it for tonight's Imperial Assault Continuity Project stream. We've caught up with all of the spoiler previews in the gallery. Will I do one of these next week? I will stream on Tuesday. I don't know if it will be about Imperial Assault yet. Definitely not going to do a recap of the entire season. And since we've now spoiled 6 cards of the remaining 3 articles, might not even need to talk about the remaining articles. We'll see. There's a couple more. There is one more card coming out. I actually thought we're going to get it today. There is one more card I'm excited about that's coming out. That's all I'm going to say. So maybe we'll talk about that. But really, I don't know what next Tuesday's stream is going to be yet. It might be IACP. It might be something else. But that's it for tonight, guys. As always, I'm TheSecondFlock. Stay frosty.